Hi everyone, welcome back. Doing a different video today. I just have to finish watching the final episode of Fairy Tale. I forget which episode number it is, but anyways. There's an interesting homage to end the series outright. They did some nice throwbacks to kind of tie in the series. Although I thought it was a bit cliched at times, or some bits and bobs they threw into it you're like, wasn't really necessary, and the final fight between the Seven Dragon Slayers and Acnologia was too short, which is what I knew was happening. I read the manga and whatnot, so I kind of knew like that was going to be a bit of a buzzkill in itself, because literally between the last 3 episodes, it's probably been about 10 minutes or so in total length, and then Natsu just one-shots him in the start of the episode, and you're like, why even bother? If you're going to do something cool, maybe stretched out to, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes, something cool, like give us a bit of hype for this final climactic battle that's going to end off the series, because like we've taken care of Zeref, and now we're finally going into Acnologia. Like, and we got some character development from Acnologia in the anime, which wasn't really present in the manga, which was actually pretty decent, showing him how he kind of became this bloodthirsty killer in a sense, but they didn't really kind of go into why he was one. He just like, yeah, he just kept killing, and eventually just liked it or something. I don't know, or he just wants to kill all dragons, and then he just decided he's going to kill all people as well. So whatever that is, but then it was very anticlimactic how it ends. It's just like One Punch Man, but without the satire of One Punch Man. It's just like it's how long has it been, like 300 plus episodes. I can't remember what episode of when we first met Acnologia to now, and this whole build up and everything coming together. It just feels so blah, not even worth it. But yeah, to kind of dissect my opinion on the Fairy Tale anime, I know some people dislike it, and some people, I won't say they hate it, some people do. I say it's more of a general dislike than a hate, because I think if you're going to hate something, now you're going to bother watching it. But if you generally dislike something, you might give it the benefit of the doubt, but you might go, oh, this isn't for me. Fairy Tale in the beginning was an excellent anime. I know some people, they didn't like it. It was too slapstick and a little bit too much fanfare, which, yeah, it's completely reasonable. I've been watching since 2013, 2014, and I binged through like the initial arc up until the Top Guild in Viore arc, where they came back from the 7-year time skip and everything. But yeah, and I watched that in the space of 6 months, give or take, and I really enjoyed every single arc up in there. And the great thing, if you compare it to other like top anime, where like it was paced really well. Like, it wasn't like DBZ, where DBZ was just incredibly slow. Like, the build up and the fights you got in DBZ were excellent, but it was so slow. Like the Frieza arc, how long was that? Like 20 episodes, maybe too much, or just too much talking and too much meandering and whatnot. And then you have something like Naruto, which Naruto, if you cut out all the filler, is an amazing anime. Like, I know there's a bit of retcons a lot in it, but like that kind of happens with any kind of manga, where it kind of overextends its initial plot point. So that's bound to happen, which is fine in my book, as long as it seems cohesive to an extent, like where it's not too just like okay, here's we're going A to B, and all of a sudden we're going to C randomly with no context whatsoever. But at least in Naruto, it's a slow, steady deviation where like, yeah, it makes sense for the change. Fairy Tail did this really well, where like everything was paced great. There was never any filler. The fights were excellent. The voice acting was fairly on point. Music, intros, battle music, everything they had in it was excellent. I really like the comedy elements of it. I know some people don't really like the fanfare, which is like showing off everyone's interesting body parts, I suppose to say. But I think in that regard, like, if they do fanfare, they do it for both genders in a sense, where like you got the girls and the guys. So in that sense, it's kind of 50-50, which isn't too bad. And if you're going to do it, you got to have both elements of it, so which is fair enough. But yeah, I think after the Tartarus arc, the anime just went downhill because the anime came back after the hiatus, after it finished up in, was it 2011? Might have been 2011, I can't remember exactly. Or maybe it was 2015. Whenever it came back after the hiatus, after the top guild of Fiore arc, it came back and they changed to a different studio, and they just changed it so much where, like, I don't know, I think it could have been the animation that gave it a lot of character as well, which is always the case. Like, if you look at comparisons from One Punch Man season 1 to season 2, like, obviously One Punch Man season 1 is like amazing, but like there is some elements of it where it looks kind of crappy in terms of animation quality, but like that's done purposely, while season 2 is just crap in general. Like, you might get the odd bits and bobs that are excellent, but like if you look at season 2 Genos and compare him to season 1, like he looks like a metal, like if you got tinfoil and just scrunched up into a ball and then drew black lines around him and then just drew his head and his arms and his legs, and that's Genos, and maybe some lights on the metal cog, and then compare him to season 1 where he looks like a fully fleshed out Terminator-esque character with all these fucking guns coming out of every which way. But yeah, and that's one thing I found, that they changed up the anime slightly, or not the anime, the animation, and it kind of just changed all the characters. It was very, they kind of over sexualized the characters in a sense, and then like when you had the final fight of the Tartarus arc, and it was the end of the Tartarus arc when you had Acnologia going up against Ignil, and like the two dragons just standing there just like floating, and then they'd hit, but like the animation would just be terrible, and they slow, like they roar and it looks like they're moving, but like they're just zooming in on them. And like they had some stuff, like there was the flashback with Natsu and Ignil when he was flying along Ignil, like that was some pretty decent animation. Like it was crisp, clear, everything was fairly well done, and like it felt like you could almost live there and it was alive to an extent, while the Ignil and Acnologia fight was more like just two fucking big cards just going into each other. Like, don't get me wrong, like the fight and the emotional balance or of the whole situation was stellar, but it's just stuff like that just kind of, you're like, oh, it looks off, it looks wrong. There's bits and bobs that just don't add up for me, and that was just one of the elements. And then the problem I had was that I can't remember the name of the manga artist or Arthur off the top of my head. It'll come back to me probably after this video. But yeah, his original storyline was to go up until when Gajil and Natsu fought Laxus and kind of pushed him out of the guild, and that was supposed to be end. Well, actually, no. Originally, it was supposed to be the tower with what's his name, Jalal, after destroy it, and Natsu goes into Dragon Force. That was supposed to be the original full story, a full plot of Fairy Tail, but kind of extended it, then did the Laxus, and then went further, and then we had all the kind of extra arcs. But yeah, he kept kind of pushing and pushing, and I felt like he got to a point where he wanted to end the anime, but he just fucking jumped the shark, to use the popular pop culture reference, and like he just threw everything he had at it way too quickly. It was very reminiscent of the of introducing Kaguya in Naruto Shippuden, where he powers up Madara, who's like this big bad evil guy who they've been hinting at for years and years and years. He show up and he's like, actually he's too powerful for the guys to kill, so we'll introduce this even more powerful opposition, but has more weaknesses, so that's how they defeat them. And this is like, okay, we're just going to up it and 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 up it, and it just feels like there's no gradual scale where they're not getting more powerful. Like, for example, with the 7-year time skip, they brought the characters back, and then they went to go compete in the tournament, and then they went to the fucking the key realm, whatever it was, and they went there for, I think they did something like a month or two to train. Went there, and being there for like 6 hours was the equivalent of 2 months. So they got this person to unlock their potential hidden inside them, even though Gajil and what's his name, his cat, I can't remember off the top of my head, It's gonna annoy me now. Uh, him and his cat went off training, and they come back with like the same power level as the other guys who just got like their powers amplified, or they got their second origin. But which was kind of annoying, kind of a bullshit power scaling thing just to get them stronger. You could have said, oh yeah, these guys were actually the top of the level in comparison to when they came back. So it would have been a cool little thing if they didn't increase it, or maybe they go, oh yeah, we just trained for a bit, or maybe like the next year is, or every 4 years they've introduced this new thing, and on the 8th year, when after the year of training, maybe you could say they come back stronger. But yeah, so they do that, and it just felt like it was too rushed, especially at the end. Like you had like we introduced Zareth, his country, his 12 Spriggan, an army of enemies, and they just attack, and then everyone defeats them, and then surprisingly, like no one dies, which is one of the main issues I've had with Fairy Tail. There isn't any mortality. Like I thought they introduced it really well by killing a character who we never met, but having the ramifications of that person being dead meant a lot, because it was a big character development for Elfman and what's her name, Minerva. Minerva. I think it's Minerva's the Sabretooth member. What's the older sister, the white-haired one, whatever. Those two characters, when the younger sister was supposedly dead, and it was a bit of a character development thing, because it kind of shows like you can die in this world. It's not black and white and everyone just survives, and then it's like, okay, everyone's starting to get wounded and everything, which is one, in fairness to me saying like there's no mortality. At the same time, whenever characters get injured, those injuries stay. Like whenever you see Gray get stabbed or Natsu get burned, all those injuries stay with them, which is a really nice character touch. At the same time, though, there's some characters like Erza who get the shit slashed out of them and then they have no injuries. And also, speaking of Erza, her power scaling is fucking bonkers, because like her magic power is that she uses swords, which is like, okay, I'm going to, and keeping in mind with the end of the anime when she fights her mother and she fucking drops a meteor on her, she beats her with a punch after being paralyzed from everywhere in her body's paralyzed bar her head and her hand, and she's able to destroy a meteor. Like, what? But Fairy Tail has the merits. The characters were written really well. The initial plot lines and character development was excellent. The use of fights, how they developed the character further, their arcs they went on, animation, like everything for me was like a top level anime, top tier. Well, maybe not top tier, definitely top tier shonen. I would say like maybe top tier is probably your Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, stuff like that. That's kind of like, it just kind of transcends that whole genre. Well, Fairy Tail is very much in that shonen bracket. But yeah, I enjoyed it, but at the end, I continued watching it because I invested this much time into it. I needed to finish it. Kind of similar to How I Met Your Mother at the end, where How I Met Your Mother was really good in the beginning, and then they just kept kind of fucking with it and fucking with it and fucking with it, and eventually it turned into something that was almost unrecognizable to an extent at the end. And like there was all this hype for Natsu being E&D, and then we get, I think in the manga we got like 3 chapters of it as like it wasn't even worth it, and in the anime we got like an episode and a half. And it's like, I want to see fucking Natsu ripping people to shreds. I want to see this person who's supposed to be the most powerful fucking demon tapped with the top of his fucking dragon slayer magic and just fucking ripping people apart, and then having this final showdown with Gray or something, or anything. Or maybe when he had to fight Acnologia, they was able to tap into it and become the demon dragon slayer. It's like he might be the dragon king, but he's a demon dragon, so he might be able to beat him in that regard because he uses curses rather than actual magic, and that could be the differentiator to defeat Acnologia. But no, they just do it with the power of friendship and all that jazz, which is an annoying fucking thing. Like, at least when we have Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, like there's a shown fucking progression with power levels and everything, or certain strengths. With Naruto, you consistently see him training. I know his training is a bit bullshit because no other Shinobi can really do it because he's got the Nine-Tailed Fox in him, and he's already has quite a high chakra base, so he's able to do that incremental training through shadow clones and whatnot. But still, it shows us that level of training with Natsu. The only training we ever know about is that he goes off for a year and trains and then becomes fucking powerful enough to melt the fucking Colosseum, yet not hurt anyone in the Colosseum. You can melt their clothes off and melt fucking rock, but everyone in the building is like, oh yeah, we're fine. Flames don't hurt us. So it's a weird one. Like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I just don't know. I'm kind of happy to see that it's over. I don't think it was executed perfectly. It's definitely worth a watch up until the guild fight, or the guild's tournament. Up till that point, it's really good. After the tournament, it's kind of iffy. It's not too bad, but the storyline's a bit out there. It's not too bad. They always do interesting storylines, even if there is a filler. It's usually stuff that's still written as a manga, but it's like a manga filler thing. Like the grass golem thing. I think that was between the 3rd and 4th arc, and even at that, it was an episode long. So like, even if we had a filler, it was an episode or two in comparison to 300 plus canon episodes. When you compare it to like Naruto, it has something like 700 episodes and probably 500. Actually, it's probably less than 500. Less than 500 are canon. Actually, no, 500 is probably alright. 500 be canon. Slightly overextended, and also similarly to Naruto, but at the same time they did the entire Alvarez Empire versus Fiore kind of battle in under 30 episodes, which was pretty decent. They could have done a Naruto on it where they did it over like 150 something fucking episodes, which is like, I think was like 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. Although I suppose if you can kind of knock it down a bit, because 2015 in Naruto, there was like something like 8 canon episodes, which is ridiculous. And then they retold the entire fucking story in a dream sequence, in the drunk storytelling of the Hokage, which is like inception, drunk inception from a book in a dream. Which is, I don't know. I'm making a lot of analogies to other anime, which I suppose is a fair point because you have to compare it to how it stands up with other anime of the same ilk. Like, I would compare it to Naruto to an extent. It's not, I don't think it's on the same level. It doesn't have the same story progression, or at least character development. It's definitely worth a watch. You're going to love it in the beginning, but you're going to hate it at the end, which I wouldn't say hate, but you're going to be happy it's over an extent. Like, I don't know, like when I started watching Fairy Tail, if Fairy Tail kept the same standard through the end or finished up early, I'd probably get a tattoo of something, maybe of a Fairy Tail logo. I know it's fucking typical cheesy fucking shit, but like, it's something I like and whatnot. But after finishing it, I probably wouldn't. And like I like what I like, and if it doesn't meet that standard, I'm not going to like it, or it's going to drop in caliber for me. And like, I have great memories of it, but like, it's been undone by the ending, which is very similar to How I Met Your Mother, which is the reference I made earlier, where How I Met Your Mother was really good, and then they did the stupid fucking final season, which didn't make any sense, and then they split everyone up. Apologies if I spoiled that for you, but it came out in like 5 years ago, so I don't care. But yeah, it felt rushed, it felt underprepared, and I don't know, there's just a lot of issues for it overall. But yeah, what did you guys think? Apparently the author, or the manga artist author, is creating another series, but he has like a lad with pink hair, a blue cat, and a blondie girl, and it's like, well, if you fucking want to do Fairy Tail, you might as well fucking did it properly. I don't know. He did a really good job for a long time, but I don't know. After watching it, I feel kind of relieved that it's over, and at the same time kind of upset that it's over, because it could have been so much better than it was. Hopefully someday, maybe a few years in the future, some studio comes along and picks it up and redoes it like maybe a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and does it proper, or even fucking just does a certain block of anime. I don't know. It's hard to tell because it could be so good, but it fell short at the end, which due to under preparation, maybe too many storylines going at once, diluting the pot in extent where like rather than keeping it to Fairy Tail, it became every single fucking guild in Fairy Tail focusing on these main characters in Fairy Tail, but all dealing with all these different guilds fighting this fucking empire and then trying to do it cohesively in under 30 episodes. And it didn't flow well. Like if they just did a fucking thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to just, this is what happened, this fights, and then we get the final fucking arcs or whatnot, or final comeuppance of all the characters. Like, because the Natsu Zera fight was actually pretty decent, a bit meh at times, but it was really good in comparison to fucking Aknologia fight. Aknologia was terrible because it just starts off, oh, we'll start pummeling him and he's not moving, nothing's happening. Kind of reminiscent of the what's his name? It's not Laxus. The Gildarts versus Natsu on Tenro Island. Of those two, where Natsu starts beating the shit out of him, but he's actually not moving and he hasn't really countered properly in that extent, and then they one punch man him, and it's just like, okay, disintegrate into fucking shards of rainbow light. I don't know. I feel kind of annoyed that it's over. I feel kind of burned that it had so much potential to be something like top tier, but it just wasn't. Definitely the first arc is up there. It's like top level anime for me. Like I would recommend it to anyone. If you don't like fanfare stuff, you probably won't enjoy it, but if you like good anime, like, or kind of comedic, or you like Naruto, Shonen, that kind of stuff, you're gonna love it. Up until, and it's pretty much that standard up until the end of the guild fight. I can't remember the name of that arc, but the guilds when they compete to be the top guild in Fiore. That up to that point, it's top tier anime. Well, not top tier, but like top tier shonen. And then it just kind of, they changed to a different studio, and that studio just kind of fucked about with it, and it just never lived up to the hype. I suppose that's issues with these kind of things. But yeah, what did you guys think of it? You obviously know my opinion if you watched it this far in. But yeah, leave your comments below what you thought of it. I really like to see it, get some other insight onto it, because I know I really like it, but a lot of people I'm friendly with aren't too keen on it, or they have not so positive lights on it, even though they don't really watch it to the extent I've done it. Like, so it's a bit unbiased. It's biased because you haven't really watched it. You can't really make an educated decision on it. If you watch it to the end, I think if you whatever you say, it's a better analysis in the end. But I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.